Ooh, who got a fresh cut?
Chill.
You got a fresh cut. Ooh. You wanted to come into the podcast all fresh and so clean.
Mm-hmm. Needed it.
How does it feel?
Lighter.
You ever grow your hair out?
I tried probably about 2 times. Mm-hmm. It didn't work out.
What do you mean it didn't work out?
It didn't grow. It just stopped growing.
Oh.
And it was like, it just stopped growing. It didn't grow much.
Dang.
And then 2020, when we paid out the mortgage, I agreed if we raised $75,000, I cut my hair bald. And I went bald, and that was a bad look. And so just give me even all over, keep it dark, taper the sides, and fade the back.
Okay.
That's
okay.
it.
So what's the longest it's ever been?
When I was younger, we used to have the fade.
You did like the kid and play situation?
Yeah, I had the box fade. And had the Gumby. You know, you don't know nothing about that, do you?
I do know about Gumby.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we had the fade going, rocking the fade. And then I want to say a couple of years ago, I tried to do a little afro. It didn't get much. It just stopped growing. So, and I let it go. So
Could have hit it with a sponge. Give it a little texture. Not that your hair doesn't have texture, but a little add layer. No?
it didn't work for me. So this is me right here. Simple.
Simple?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like growing my hair out.
I'm pretty sure you do.
I do. It's fun.
Oh, you don't cut your hair?
I haven't cut my hair. It's been a very long time. Like trim, right? Keep it healthy, but no, I haven't cut my hair since, let's see, I've cut all my hair off in like 2009. I cut it all off.
Well, like bald off or just short?
I was real short. So it was, I had a pompadour. So it was real short on the sides. I'm about to say, it was really short on the sides. And it was short in the back. And then I had like long hair in the front. And so I would, I could curl it so it kind of like sat up, had curls sitting on the top. So that's what my hair was. And it was relaxed at the time. And I thought that having shorter hair was less work.
It's not the case.
It's not the case. It's more work because your hair has to be done every day. And I was still like playing in basketball leagues and stuff. So I would do all my hair, be cute, and then I'd go play basketball and it would just be done. So it was.
I never saw you. I don't think I ever saw your hair relaxed or straightened. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't crazy, but that's whatever.
Yeah, like for probably now, if I really thought about it, I probably had my hair relaxed the same amount of time my hair has been natural. Like I've been wearing it natural. Maybe not. That's a long time because I probably started getting relaxers when I was like 10 or 12.
Just for me.
Exactly. And I would get the kids. I would do the kitty perm. I would do the kitty relaxer because the adult one was too strong. Even because I got my hair relaxed all the way up until 2013. And then from there, I started to transition into natural. So took a year of, I didn't do the big chop like some people have done. I just was like just trimming off the hair at the end every time I went and got my hair done once a month. And then I was fully natural. But then I had to figure out how to do the hair.
Right.
Because I hadn't done natural hair before. And my mom, even though she's a hairdresser, at that time, no black women were really doing natural hair. So, so we're all learning how to navigate this space of natural hair, which was like pretty fun and cool. But yeah, and then I've just been trying to grow it out ever since. But it's broken. Oh my gosh, there was a time, especially in the winter, wearing scarves and stuff, all of this hair in the back had broken off. So it was, so it'd be like really short and come like the summer and the spring. And I had to like work to like grow it back out. And then, the scarves and stuff were tearing it up.
That's crazy.
So my hair's probably like, if I don't stretch it, it's like here. But if I stretch it, it probably hits to like right here.
What do you mean stretch it?
So the type of hair that I have is I have really tight coils. So when I wear it, it's It's curly. It's real. They shrink like especially when they're wet, shrinkage.
Okay.
And then if you like pull it, you can see like how much length you actually have. Yeah.
I got you.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. Hair is fun. And now it's winter.
My wife is she don't care. She long hair, short hair, wigs, braids, everything. She's very versatile.
Sometimes you just gotta keep them guessing, because if you keep
who is them?
Them, whoever them is, whoever is checking for you, you gotta keep them guessing. Keep the head on a swivel.
Okay, all right.
That's what you have to do.
I got you.
Because and it's also kind of like how you're feeling. That's one thing I do love about our hair. It can be so versatile. Like, I can curl it one day, I can have it straight the next day. It can be in braids the day after that. It could be in an afro the day after that. It could be under a wig the day after that. Like, ponytail. It can do so many things.
For sure.
And I love it. When I was younger, I was like, I grew up in predominantly white areas, so they didn't know what to do. They're like, why is your hair like that? And I was like, well, that's how it grows out of my head.
That sounds like a sermon series I might need to do on women hair. Relating to life, like the bob, the bob is like, I don't know, casual, cool. The short and cut.
Keep working through it.
I think that'll be cool. Let me think about that. Yeah.
Definitely think about it. Keep thinking about it. It could be cool. It makes it relevant. Like, there's so many. Okay, are you talking about like as you go through life stages, like your hair also changes? Is that what you're talking about?
No, just different hairstyles, and then just incorporating somehow it connect to the biblical text. So, like the perm, straighten you out.
Now everybody gonna start getting perms. They gonna say, but I love my natural hair. But Pastor said I need to get a perm.
I'm just saying, it can straighten you out, then your natural is, I don't know, just something that just came to me. Let me chill.
Yeah. You should write that down so you don't forget to workshop that later.
I don't know. We'll have this recording.
I guess we will have this recording. Welcome, everyone, to MTZ Overflow Podcast. I am your host, Cassaundra Thorpe, and I'm here with my forever guest, Reverend Dr. Marcus Allen. And as we are in the new year, we have a new sermon series. So, Pastor, talk to us about what this sermon series is for 2025.
Well, the theme for the year is Jesus is the Way. And so we're going to look at the biographical sketch of Jesus' life from the lens of the gospel writer Mark. So we're looking from now on to Easter. We'll be just studying the gospel of Mark. And Mark sees Jesus as the suffering servant. So themes is discipline, discipleship, and devotion. So that's what we're going to be walking through the book of Mark for about the next 3.5 months.
Discipline, discipleship, and what?
Devotion.
A little alliteration.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get the people to remember.
Yep, and just talking about being servants. And I think Mark looked at Jesus as the suffering servant. So that's what we're going to try to do.
Nice. Looking forward to hearing the sermons as well as having these continued conversations about Mark. It's great because I'm doing a devotion with some friends, and we're also going through Mark. So it'll be great to have those parallels as well. So we are starting at the beginning of Mark 1, which is the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And and the title of this sermon is Jesus is Him.
For sure.
And which is great. It's a very cultural relevant term. I'm Him. What do you think they said back in the biblical times to deliver that same message?
I don't know.
Thine is Thy name is great.
Yeah, extraordinary. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh gosh, but I like kind of bringing that into like I'm him, because that's very much the language of our current culture is just like the reiterating like, yeah, listen, and like the goat exists. Like I think the goat lives in a space, but I think the like I'm him or I'm her is a lot more. You see it more frequently, I would say.
Right.
Like in various sentences, be like, yeah, that presentation, yeah, I'm her, I'm her.
For sure.
Do you ever say that after a sermon?
No. Nope. But I get my greatest compliment to my sermons is when MJ come tell me I just preached a good sermon.
That's cool.
Because he my son, and then he's 16. But for him to say like, yeah, you him, I appreciate that more than anything. But I don't preach for any type of accolades. But for MJ to tell me that, I don't know why, it just does something to me.
I love that. I love that.
For sure.
I know you shared a little bit about Mark and like what he's writing about. Is there anything else you want to add about the history of like the text and how we got here?
The Gospel of Mark is written from the eyes or the lens of Peter. Mark is not a disciple. Mark does not walk with Jesus. Mark just speaking from the accounts in which he heard from the Apostle Peter. In the early church, they took his account to be true and his words to be true, and so they added them to the canon. The canon is the collection of scriptures. Mark walks with Paul and Barnabas and on missionary journeys. Mark is, we'll hear about him more throughout the sermon, but he's committed to the Christian walk of life. Mark is a part of the Synoptic Gospels, which means similar with Matthew, Mark, and Luke. But some suspect that Matthew and Luke took some of Mark's writings and added to them. So, yeah, that's the Gospel of Mark.
And I know that because they are so similar, I guess because this doesn't exist in even like Isaiah or Psalm or Proverbs. Like they're not identified as being synoptic either. So why is this a distinction between Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and not Isaiah? Maybe not Psalm, but like maybe like more Proverbs up in like the terms of like prophecy and things like that.
Why? So ask the question again.
So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are synoptic gospels because
Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Though.
Sorry, Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the synoptic gospels because of they're similar.
Right.
There are other books in the New Testament that are also similar, especially those that speak about the prophecy of
in the New
Jesus.
Testament or Old Testament?
I'm saying in the Old Testament. Why are those not considered synoptic?
Because they're not. No, all the rest.
Because they're not.
Yeah, they're not. I don't know the explanation. We look at like Kings and Chronicles. They have similar stories, but I think Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they all have mostly the same stories, but told in different ways. And so that's why they call synoptic, because they're so in line and with one another. And those are the only books in the Bible that does that.
And so you say Kings and Judges are not aligned with one another. They're not telling the same story.
Not Judges, Kings and Chronicles.
Chronicles, I'm sorry.
They have some of the similar stories.
Oh, some, but not the...
Not like the Gospels.
Okay. That's a good distinction. Thank you. And so then we asked the question, right? You gave the examples of, in our current day, LeBron James, because we know you love LeBron, Simone Biles, and Patrick Mahomes as like the I'm her, I'm him. And then you give...
You can't argue that for real, but some people will.
I mean, and you put that disclaimer in there. Yeah, you put that in there.
LeBron is him.
Leaving it alone. I'm not saying he's not. I just, like you said, somebody would have thought of somebody else.
Right.
And I think that's where like the I'm him goat can like shift. Like to me, I feel like GOAT means like you're done. Like now you can qualify for like GOATness. Like once you're
you
done.
can't do it while you're doing it. You don't believe that?
I think you have to have because what people are doing is they're comparing current with someone who's they're comparing.
Let's
someone
not say
who's,
people. Let's just say CT.
No, I'm saying people because that's what I see on the internet.
No, we talking about CT perspective.
Fine, my perspective.
Your perspective says.
My perspective says that I don't think it's a fair comparison to have someone who is currently receiving accolades compared to someone who is no longer receiving accolades.
What if the person that's currently receiving accolades have more already than the person they're compared to?
I still don't think you can fully like close it because if the person who's currently receiving accolades were to end right now, then you can like truly look at what like truly their impact like over time. Mm-hmm. But you can't do that. That chapter has to close before they can do that.
But LeBron has the most points in NBA history, so we can't compare him to nobody right now.
I mean, there's like that list, but I don't know if that necessarily makes him the greatest of all time.
Because how long did Kareem hold that record?
I don't know. It feels like 40 years or something like that.
And he broke it.
Okay.
That don't make him him.
I'm saying him, LeBron being him, is different than LeBron being the GOAT. That's what I'm saying. That's
GOAT to him. I think that.
What I'm saying is
the synopsis.
That's where I think there's like a differentiator between like being him. I'm not saying LeBron is not him because he's doing amazing things at 40. But I'm not sure if LeBron can be talked about fully as the GOAT yet because his career has not ended. So you can't look at the full breadth of what he's done.
But his achievements outweigh.
I mean, do they? I mean, like
mostly majority of the people.
I mean, do they? Like, how many rings does he have?
He has 4.
Okay, who has more rings?
Jordan.
So is Jordan the GOAT?
Yes.
So Jordan's the GOAT.
He's a GOAT.
But Jordan's career is done. And you could also argue that Jordan got more rings in a shorter period of time than LeBron. Mm-hmm. So, again, but LeBron technically still has
Jordan never had to play against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant.
And LeBron never had to play against Larry Bird, Magic Johnson.
Not on the same team. They weren't on the same team.
I know. So he never had to play against them.
But if they wasn't on, but
LeBron never had to play against them.
LeBron would have murdered them.
You're talking about current LeBron. But what if LeBron had the same access to resources that they had then? You still think so?
Yeah.
No. Pastor, there's no way. Because you could say the same thing. If Jordan had the same resources that LeBron had, you could argue that he would be better than LeBron. You know what? You got off tangent with this.
Go ahead. Continue with the lesson.
Like I said, I'm not knocking LeBron. I'm not saying he's not him. What I'm saying is I think he needs to have a full catalog before we talk about being the GOAT.
But
him, Simone, Diana Taurasi, Patrick Mahomes. Pick any athlete, pick any scholar. Like, if we're talking about being the GOAT, I think you have to have you are done doing the thing that you were doing. That chapter has closed. Now you can be evaluated. It's like going into the Hall of Fame. You can't be inducted into the Hall of Fame while you are an active player.
Right, but still, but the title or the tag of GOAT is subjective to the person who's viewing it.
I also think
so. The Hall of Fame is based off a group of people making that selection.
What I'm saying, I think that the I'm him can live currently and can be fluid. But I think if we're talking about the greatest of all time, you need to have that catalog closed.
I don't agree with that. And that's okay.
Because I mean, you could argue.
It's okay. I'm not arguing. It's over.
You don't want to argue.
I'm just trying to prove to you that the debate of who is him or the GOAT is subjective, but not with Jesus.
No, and you want to know what? Well, could argue. Since Jesus' catalog is not closed, it never will be closed. Mm-hmm. Could he even be part of the GOAT conversation? or is he him?
He's
Based
him.
off of my current argument.
Your current argument is invalid if you consider that.
I'm not saying that
Jesus can't be considered as him until his catalog is closed.
No, it's not him.
When his catalog is from beginning
the goat
to eternity.
Jesus cannot be the goat. He is excluded from being the goat based off of my current argument. But he will always be him.
Yeah, but your argument falls because Jesus is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time.
Does it? Does it?
Hey, that's you. That's on you. That's subjective to you. That's what you feel. He's him.
I do have to call this out because you didn't do it, but I noticed like you gave some biblical references of who was the GOAT, and you didn't put in any, or not the GOAT. I'm sorry. Like I'm him's. Like Abraham is a him. He has his faith. He is him. Who else do you have? David's fearlessness he's him. Isaiah's prophecies makes him. But who was a her? It's not in here.
Simone Biles?
No, I'm talking about biblically.
Well, missed it.
So
who's her? Who would you consider her?
I was going to ask. I personally,
I'm asking you.
I think Esther is her.
Okay.
I mean, she went against the king who was about to kill all of her people, including her, and tried to put her life on the line to do that. I can't say that I know a lot of people that would do that, myself included. I would want to. I think I would want to.
Yeah.
But that's some strong faith to walk into that knowing you could die.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Good job. That's why this is the overflow, so
yeah.
If you miss stuff, you can add it in here.
Okay, let's get in. Let's get into this because we could talk about how you don't agree with what I said all the time. But the first point is why is Jesus him? Again, with my argument is that he provides new beginnings. And I did like the connection between in Mark where he says the beginning, which echoes Genesis 1:1, and it's the same verse, Mark 1:1 or reference scripture 1:1 and Genesis 1:1. And just thinking about how it all starts from Jesus. But talk to like, what does it mean to like have new beginnings? Because even within this, it's, to me, I'm thinking like the very beginning, like beginning of the world, beginning of my life, but this is almost like a beginning of a chapter. So how do you know when like a chapter is about to start?
Yeah, so you look at Genesis 1:1, that was a transformation, right? That's the beginning of civilization, beginning of the world. God was doing something new. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? And then here in Mark chapter 1, it says the beginning of the gospel. That means, again, God is doing something new. He's transforming us. He's providing a new way, of living, but he's also providing us with Jesus Christ, the Son of God. So now we have a new beginning because in the first time when God created the heavens and the earth, no sin entered the world. And now this new beginning, we have this Christ coming to give us the grace that we need to survive the sins of the world.
Okay. So I have that, and so we're here. We're in our own journey, and I did not know this about Mark and his journey with Paul and Barnabas.
Right.
And I'm not even gonna hold you. I got really defensive of Mark, or I wanted to protect Mark in this.
Of course. Go ahead.
Why do you say it like that?
Because you always want to protect somebody.
Yes, I am a nurturer. I want to protect the people, and sometimes I feel that you unjustly judge them.
Let's go.
So Mark. So correct me as I tell this. Paul and Barnabas are about to go out on a journey to tell people about Christ. And Barnabas is like, yo, you got to bring my homeboy Mark. He's going to be great. He's got all of these wonderful ideas. What does Mark do? Who is Mark? What does he do?
Mark.
What's his job?
I'm not saying. No, it doesn't say his occupation.
So Mark is, he does what Mark does. And so then, and so Barnabas is like, should we come? Should we come? I feel like Paul's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know him like that. I mean, I know you, but if you mess up, it's on you. And Barnabas is like, cool. So then he goes and he tells Mark. Mark's excited because Mark probably has never left wherever Mark is from. Mm-hmm. And so he's excited to go and be in this place, wherever they're going. He's like, I love God. I love Jesus. Yes, let's go tell other people. And then, this was Paul's first journey. He wanted to make sure it went well. But then Mark turned back before the journey ended, which it doesn't say when that point in the journey. We just knew it wasn't over yet. Mm-hmm. And so we have no reason for it. We don't know what Mark could have been feeling. He could have been homesick. He could have felt like his part was done. We don't know if there was an argument. Maybe he felt the tension and animosity from Paul, that Paul didn't really want him there. And he just got fed up. Like, Paul was giving him real small portions of porridge. Paul wasn't praying with him.
You're reading into it a whole lot.
My pastor taught me how to read what's also not in the text.
Let's go. Rock
between the lines.
Keep rocking. Keep rocking.
And so, Mark departed. It irritated Paul. It's like, the way I think about it is like, if you don't want me around and you are being dismissive of me, you're not listening to me, you are just like talking over me and around me. Whoa. And then I leave, and then you're like, why'd you go? I'm mad at you. And it's like, you didn't welcome me in here. So I left. And so Mark left, and Paul and Barnabas had their fight over that. Paul's like, I told you, da-da-da-da. Barnabas is like, you were treating him like da-da-da-da-da. So then they're fighting, going back and forth. And the reason that I feel that is partially what happened is because then it goes into Paul reconciling with Mark. As you said before, he closed the tent on his life. That's what Paul did for Mark. And so I'm going to defend Mark in that he was willing and able to go, but the environment was just not there. Because Paul was acting up.
And so you're fine with Mark being a quitter?
If Mark was pushed out.
I didn't say pushed out.
What I'm saying.
Oh, you saying if he was pushed out. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
If he was pushed out, I don't think that constitutes as a quitter. And again, we don't know where on the journey it was. Like, maybe they were on the path, right? And Paul's like, we got to go all the way around. And Mark's like, we could just cut across this way. The quickest point between A and B is a straight line. But Paul wanted to take the long way. And Mark said, I'll just see you all back at the homestead.
I love your imagination so much. I love it. I promise you I do.
So maybe Mark was just like, I'm here for efficiency, so I'm going to go. And then Paul got mad because he didn't follow him fully all the way around for like 2 more days, based off travel time, whatever.
That would have frustrated me if I'm the leader and you're not following me.
But if you're leader, be efficient. Like, why do we have to go the long way?
Because I'm leading. And you should trust my leadership. You gotta
give me a little bit better than that. Especially if you've already been treating me bad.
You know that he was treating them. But if I'm the leader and you say, yes, you're the leader and you believe that the God is in me, and if I'm going in a direction, I would love for you to follow me in that direction, because not only you trust in me, but you trust in the God that's in me. But if you can't trust the God that's in me and you lead me, then I'm going to have some frustration and irritation, and I'm going to be upset.
What about the God that's within me, though?
Yeah, the God that's within you should tell you to follow the God that's in me.
God that's within me is like, if you stick around with that Paul, you might end up in some places you don't want to be.
That's crazy.
What?
You nothing. Go ahead.
Tell you
what's my question?
Why? Okay, first, why do you... I don't know what my question is anymore. Okay, so, one, I hadn't heard that story before. So, like, Tell us, like, what was the intention and significance for you on sharing this part of Mark's story?
Yeah, so once I was studying the Gospel of Mark and then looking at the reason, just who he was, right? Just looking at who he was. And so people write by what their experiences, right? You're not writing from something that somebody else went through, but you're writing from the lens in which you understand it and comprehend it. And so I think Mark, my assumption, Mark write this, the new beginning, because he was able to experience that within himself. And so that's the reason why I included it within the sermon, even though it has really, it was my imagination, right? My spiritual imagination that allowed me to connect the two things together, because there's nothing in the biblical text to say, hey, John Mark wrote this because of his new beginning he was able to receive with Paul. But looking at it as from the perspective of how do I connect the word of God that happened back then to what's going on right now, and even this one sentence, to preach from this one sentence in the beginning, the new gospel, right? I mean, the new beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, or some say the Messiah, who is the Son of God. So I wanted to bring into that the importance of new beginnings, and you can see it actually happening in the life of Mark. Mark is with Paul and Barnabas. Paul, he's converted. He's killing the Christian church, but then now he's converted on the road to Damascus, and now he's working with the people that he was after persecuting, right? And Barnabas is a mediator. Barnabas stands in between Paul and the other apostles, saying, hey, God has really changed his life. Let's accept him into the brotherhood. They two go together, and they're turning the world upside down. Like you said, Mark comes along. Mark is with them. And then all of a sudden the Bible says, and Mark turns and goes back, right? And then when Mark decides to come back, Paul's like, no, Mark left us the last time. So we can't trust Mark again on this next missionary journey. So Paul hooks up with Silas, and then they go on their way. And then Barnabas and Mark, they go on their way. And so, and then as Paul is in prison, Timothy, he says, and bring John Mark because he's useful for the journey. And so that reconciliation happens. And so that new beginning that happens with the relationship with Paul and Mark, that they're able to come back together, reconcile their relationships, and start a new beginning. And so that's why I wanted to point to in that biblical text. And so that it speaks to us. Now, every time we come here, it's a new beginning, because our relationship has been somewhat interrupted, because you always want to defend women and you talk bad about David. And so we have to come here and create a new beginning every week we meet.
I mean, the Bible does talk about renewing a covenant, so I don't know why this is any different.
Yeah. Sure.
And I'm gonna defend those.
Don't break your neck.
I'm not going to.
Don't break your neck.
But what I will say is how you just described it also helps my point of that. I don't think Paul liked Mark. Because two different people had to advocate for Mark to Paul.
Who?
Barnabas. Okay. Initially, and then you just said Silas did.
I didn't say Silas did. I said
you did.
Paul and Silas went on their missionary journey.
Yeah.
And Barnabas and
Timothy,
Mark.
Or was Timothy who said bring Mark along because he's useful?
I'm saying in the book of Timothy is Paul saying, because Paul is the writer of Timothy.
Paul, all these pseudo names, like just have a book called Paul and just write everything for Paul.
No, it's because Paul writes. No,
that makes sense.
It doesn't.
Efficiency.
Paul writes epistles. Paul writes to churches. So he writes to the church in Rome. He writes to the church in Galatia. He writes to the church in Philippi. He writes to the Corinthian church. He writes to the church in Colossae.
Is Timothy a church? Timothy
is not a church. Timothy is a person. He writes a letter to Timothy.
How? Oh. I was about to go.
It's okay.
But either way,
we're gonna learn you today. You're gonna learn. Either way, what? Okay.
People had to advocate to Paul about Mark.
How you know this?
It's in the text.
Where?
Acts 13:13.
That's when
Barnabas.
That's when he left.
No.
Yeah.
Oh. So
Acts
somewhere in Acts.
Timothy is when he came back.
But he had to come first and then left and then he came back. Because he had to come with them first in order for him to leave. Mm-hmm. Either way.
Oh my God.
And I could spend some time in here, but pretty much I don't think Paul liked Mark.
Take the shortcut. Take the shortcut.
I don't think Paul liked Mark, but he knew that he needed Mark. Right. And here we go.
Here we go. New beginning.
New beginnings. I like the Etch-a-Sketch. It just continues. I hope you know that we both had Etch-a-Sketches, and I related to that analogy. Because Pastor likes to think we're not in the same time, whatever, millennials. Like, we're both not millennials. We would have been in high school at the same time. I just want to continue.
What year you graduated high school?
2004.
No, we probably would have. I graduated 2000.
Yeah, like you would have been a senior and I was a freshman.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. You old.
We. I also liked where you talk about Mark portrays Jesus as a servant, right? Mm-hmm. Like you had mentioned that at the top, and then and calls his followers to a life. Jesus calls his followers to a life of humility, sacrifice, and service. And I thought about servant leadership and how that in conversations that I'm in circles that I'm in, that seems to be the most prominent way that people want to lead. And what is it about servant leadership that draws people to want to desire it?
Yeah, because people emulate what they see, right? And then people want to know you care about what they're doing. Yeah. So as servant leaders is saying, hey, CT, I need you to get this task done, but I'm also going to help you complete the task, right? But then I'm also going to provide you the care that you need for completion of the task. So servant leadership is drawn because it's not a hierarchy in that leadership. It's a partnership that you understand who's in charge and who's in control, but at the same time, you know who's walking with you and getting the task or the mission completed. So people are more drawn to servant leadership than just dictatorship, where I just say, hey, go do this and go do that, go do that.
That's cool. And then so with Jesus, it's very similar. He wanted a partnership with everybody.
We see it. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And then in verse jumps down and say, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. God came down to walk with us and to still be God, but to be with us. And so I think servant leadership Jesus is the stamp of servant leadership.
Yeah, I would think so too. I hadn't put the two together until this, and just thinking about how, like, even though maybe the world wants to deny Jesus and deny God, you're still living out these principles in a sense if you are a servant leader, or if you do, if you're willing to make sacrifices, if you are willing to give service. Like, these are very much the I shouldn't say qualifications, the expectations, or what we should be doing as followers of Jesus. Right. And still very prominent and preeminent. And preeminent? I don't think that's the right word. It's very much alive and well.
I don't know what you're trying to say, so go ahead. It sounds good. No worries.
And so, okay, so then get to the second point. So we talked about the new beginnings part, but then he gives good news. And so the gospel, which is the entire Bible, is considered the gospel?
Some would say, no, yeah, it's the good news, yeah.
Are you sure it's all good news?
The gospel is all good news. The Bible is all good news.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't.
So you need to pray about it.
I mean, I'm just thinking about all the things that aren't good that happen in the Bible.
Yeah. But it's good for us because we get to see the mistakes that were made.
I don't know how to not keep locusts from coming.
Locusts, right. It's locust. Ask the scientists because I don't think we're bothered by locusts like they used to in the day. We got a little pesticides and all that type of stuff to handle insects.
So pesticides are good news?
Yeah. With no plagues. But they was it either this year or last year, someplace had a lot of those them loud bugs.
The cicadas?
Yeah.
Yeah, they like to come back. I think
it was like a lot of them.
Yeah, they keep coming around.
Yeah, so the gospel is the good news of the life, death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is considered the Gospels. But like I said, I believe the whole Bible is beneficial for all of us in our lives. And like you say too, if I wasn't Christian and I read the book of Proverbs, it'd be beneficial for me to how to treat people, how to handle business, to how to operate my family. Even like the Beatitudes is just how do I treat people, and how would I want to be treated? The golden rule: do unto others as you want them to do unto you. The Bible has that things in there, and so, but the gospel itself is the life, death, resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about with that good news, you give the analogy of the hiker. Mm-hmm. And talk about being like lost in the wilderness, sending out a signal for help, and then you said cries for help through our actions. Mm-hmm. I was trying to wrestle with like what does that look like? Like when you say that,
right? And so I was looking at the hiker that was lost in the woods, and looking at the woods as a picture of sin. That all of us, before salvation, we are hikers lost in the wilderness of sin, because sin it keeps us, it holds us, it distracts us, it doesn't allow us to be who God has created us to be. So, in those moments, sometimes we cry out with our actions. Some cry out with alcoholism or drugs. Some cry out with addiction to sex, fornication, adultery. Some cry out through how they treat people, attitude. Some cry out looking for help through our actions of trying to go to a church or trying to listen to something. We cry out in various ways of how to get out of this sin that we're in, this place that we're in. And that can only happen through, God sending a rescue team, which is God, Jesus Himself, to rescue us from that sin. So if we look at our lives, all of us, many of us grew up in church. At least you can't really say that now. Most black people don't grow up in church like they used to, but many people grew up in church and were saved and baptized, but you knew at what point when you became an adult where you really became saved, right? You knew at some point where you really knew, okay, this was the life-altering event that changed my life, that really connected me to Jesus Christ. And so you look at those events, those are us crying out within ourselves with this urging or this burning, desiring Jesus to come save us from the sin that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, thank you for explaining that, because it's I think at times we can just think that like we're stuck, and kind of like no matter what we do, it's not the right thing to do, and so you try to find a lot of different solutions, and I think too it's like. God operates on His timing,
for sure,
not mine. So if I'm in the wilderness and I'm praying and seeking help, and I've been praying and nothing's happening, I'll be like, well, let me go find another solution. Now, God may be working and been creating things, and that's where we're challenged to be patient in our waiting. Or is it patient? That doesn't make sense. It's like active, does make sense. Patient in our waiting, right? Okay. But it's hard. It's hard to sit in something that is so challenging, difficult, depressing, anxiety-filled, disappointing, and wait.
Now are you talking from a sense of before God or after God? Now, if you're talking about before God, then I can understand. But if you call on, you said if you call on me, I'll be there, right? Those who call on the name of Jesus shall be saved. That's Romans 10. If you call on, you shall be saved. So if that's the case, prior to if you call on, you shall be saved, and there's no waiting. But if you're looking at life, and sometimes you got to go through things, and there's some decisions to be made, and sometimes it feels as if God's voice is distant from you, and you cannot hear Him. And when He's telling you to wait, those are the moments where you definitely have to be in tune and intact and connected to the Holy Ghost, because you can't handle it. It's weird, right? Because you don't understand it, and if you're like me, I like being in control of all situations, and when I feel like I'm not in control, that's when I get my emotional outbreaks, right? Because I'm like, I see what's in front of me, I see what needs to happen, but I can't make it happen. I know what I need, but I can't get to it. And it's not because of my efforts, but it's because God has something or is preventing me from getting there. You feel what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so the intentionality on our part in learning how to wait is you need the Holy Ghost. And once you establish that, then you're fine, right? So it's that going to the grocery store and not looking for the shortest line all the time. You know what I mean?
That felt personal.
or not trying to get off on every exit when there's a backup on the highway, and trying to find a shortcut to get, or another way or another route. Sometimes, and I think I'm gonna say this in the sermon tomorrow, the only way out is through. And sometimes we try to go around things and prevent the waiting, when the waiting may be beneficial. Because sometimes we want things in an instant, and where we want things right now when we're not ready for it. And if we got it in that moment, it would have been to our own demise. But if we are intentional and say, hey, what we're praying for and know what we need, and we say, hey, I'm depending on God for this, and so I can wait in God's time, even though God's time, it may not be what you desire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only way out is through. That'll be good for tomorrow. I don't like it, but yeah. Y'all been with us long enough. You already know. I just feel like, yes, I know that makes sense and that is right, but I just don't like it. That's the human in me.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No,
I already said my profound thing. Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
Okay, so then the third point is that he provides proof of his identity. Mm-hmm. Thought we already knew who he was. So what proof does he have to show?
Right.
Because when he comes back, or not comes back, but he's crucified on the cross, buried, rises again in 3 days, goes and sees his disciples and shows them the proof. But this isn't that proof.
Nah.
So what is the proof?
This speaking to the verse, right? He says, the new beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. So Jesus is him because he provides proof of his identity of being him throughout the gospels, right? And so that's why you can see that he's him, because back then emperors considered themselves sons of God. Or other people were saying that they were the Messiah or the Savior. Other people were saying that they were the Christ. But Jesus proves that he's him because he has power over healing, over nature, and over the demonic. But then he shows that he has power over death in the grave. And so all of that culminates to Jesus saying he is the Son of God, which is he's him.
Okay. So then that gets to that. People talk about how they have a good game, but they like can't back it up. So just kind of like how you say, like on the basketball court, like you're better than me, and then we've already been on the court and we know that that's not true.
No, that's legit. Because I was giving you buckets that
You
day.
were not giving me buckets.
Were we on the same team?
No.
Oh,
we've never been on the same team.
You was getting buckets then.
Yeah.
Because my team won.
Not because of you.
Who was on my team?
I don't remember.
I think it was because of me. I think I was giving you buckets, CT. That was a long time ago.
I think you gave me like 2 buckets.
2?
And I gave you about 10.
Cap!
Got you every time. You was like, oh, CT, you kind of good.
That's cap.
That's out.
I ain't played basketball in a while, but we definitely can go get it.
We can go. Whenever you would like. I don't play outside right now.
I'm playing outside. I'm too grown for that.
Yeah, we'll play inside on some hardwood.
Let's go.
I know exactly where we can go.
Where?
I'll tell you not
let
online.
Me know. I'm ready.
We said I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. All right.
Okay. So that helps, like that context of like Jesus, because to me where I am, it's like, yeah, of course Jesus is the Son of Man. Like that is why he came. He is God in flesh. That is how we can connect to him. So like I was like, out my mind, I was like, duh. But based off of what you just shared of the historical context of people saying that they are the Son of Man or Son of God, that and
even today, people don't believe. Even probably some people that was in the congregation on Sunday, or somebody who watches on Facebook or YouTube wouldn't say, well, he's only a prophet, or he was just a good man, and not that he was the actual Son of God. And so how does Jesus prove that he's the Son of God? By his healing, by his ability to speak to nature, and those only a few miracles that I pulled out, and then of course his victory over death in the grave.
Yeah, which I like that you gave those examples of healing. Of you didn't call it casting out demons, you called it something. Oh, power of the demonic, power over nature, and then the being baptized and over death or conquering death. Yes, I think those are. I know people now, they need the evidence, and they need to be able to see it. They need to be able to touch it. Like how I think it'd be interesting. I have not heard, and maybe this is part of the vision for the year, but looking at Jesus through the eyes of those that were doubtful. So thinking of like the centurion guard at the foot of the cross, Thomas, who was a disciple and he needed to see things. I know I'm missing people, but like who were those that maybe doubted or were not who like believed kinda, but like needed to see something, needed to feel something, and how we can see that in our current day and in our through what Jesus is continuing to do in the lives of folks. I think I just think about the population that I work with. Before they show up to anything or come to any program, they need to know how it's going to directly impact them. And I think we are in a time frame where reading the Bible isn't going to give people enough. We have to see it. We have to have the examples. It can't just be the I believed and I go to heaven. It's like, no, I'm going to struggle with it. I have more questions because I'm seeing these other things that are happening with science, or even just what's going on in LA with the wildfires, the questioning of if God's so loving and so caring, like why is he letting these fires happen? And talking through what that means beyond just praying for those that are impacted, which that is powerful. But if I'm going to now believe in this God that Allah has that is seeing this bad thing happen. I'm saying he's allowing it because the devil is very much alive. But I think there's a conversation there of those who have been identified in the Bible that who saw Jesus, experienced him, touched him, and didn't believe. But we don't, we can't see or touch him now. So how do we create that connection?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good conversation to have, and a good place to start. And Jesus told Thomas, "You believe because you've seen me, but there is another group of people that's going to be blessed because they believe and they've never seen me." Mm-hmm. And so, and then some stuff we just can't explain too.
Yeah.
And sometimes we try and we fall flat on our faces because what God allows is totally up to God.
Yeah. So, you know what I might do this year? I might keep a running tally of all the suggestions that I gave you, and let's see if you use any of them. Just saying.
Let's do that.
I think we might have to. I'm giving you 2 already.
What?
I'm giving you 2. I gave you this one talking about the people that don't believe, and then I gave you one earlier. What was the one from the top?
The braids.
Yeah, the braids.
Bobs.
Yeah, the bobs. It's 2. I ain't to write those.
Thank you, CT.
I do. While I write these,
text me and remind me.
While I write these down, Pastor, do you have any parting points for the people?
I do not. All I want to say is Jesus is Him. He's proven. He's the one and the only. He is the best at everything. He's Him. That's all that I have. And CT, please send me your recommendations because, sometimes once I leave here, I forget what you be saying.
That doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
I know. I'm pretty sure the same for me to you. So we're mutual.
You want to tell anybody anything else?
No. God bless you all. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Stay fabulous, marvelous, and blessed. This has been CT and Pastor on your MTZ Overflow podcast, and CT is going to put this up today. All right. God bless you all. Take care. Peace.